Hello and welcome to another ASC Productions video. Back at the Compaq Presario V2000 today with the Tyrion 64. When I first got this set up, I had grabbed this adapter to be able to use Compaq Flash for running this machine. However, it didn't really work that well. I was having problems with like the paging file and applications not installing. And that ended up being a problem because I was using Compaq Flash. So I spent, in my opinion, an obscene amount of money to buy an actual IDE SSD, and I've gone ahead and installed it, and it has resolved the problems. I can now install a paging file. I was able to actually install Minecraft on here. Now, as you can see, Minecraft actually doesn't run on here, even though I did install the latest version of Java, but it won't run. So what I'm going to be doing at this point is I'm going to be installing Windows 10, and I will have you go through that with me. Now I'll probably speed it up just because that process does take quite a while. And if you're curious, put this here. The SSD that I bought is a King Spec SSD. It's a 64 gig. It was like $55, almost 60 bucks. So it was really too expensive. It was only for 64 gig SSD. You can get 120 gig SSDs for like $45 now. And so it's really, it was really too much money. But at the same time, it was my only option, because I did have, I actually grabbed a IDE drive. I found one that I had, and I don't have it here with me right this moment. And I went ahead and tried to use that, install Windows 10 on that, but it just spent the entire time seeking, and you just heard that poor little 4,500 RPM drive just spinning its little brains out, trying to actually accomplish anything with Windows 10. So obviously that was not a good choice. So we're going to go ahead and, what was it? We'll close out of this. Well, actually, you know what? This is the first time it's actually gotten past that point. So let's see if we can get it to do anything. I doubt it. I doubt it. Nah, it's just crashing. Okay, we'll close out of this. Put the CD in. Now, when installing Windows 10, we only need Windows 10 so far. So we'll turn off and restart here. Now, as this is restarting, I'm just going to go over a couple of things here. I know a lot of my videos, people complain about being dark. I do the best that I can. I do this in basically what is my home office, which is really a walk-in closet. And I don't have a lot of light in here. I am in the process of going through, packing stuff up, getting ready to, as you can see, closet, to actually sell my home and buy a new home. And hopefully that home, the goal is to have a home office for myself. And one of the things going along with that is I'm going to be getting rid of a number of things. So if you're interested in purchasing any of the things I've reviewed on this channel, check out my subreddit. I'll post links. I'll sell most of it through eBay. And so check my subreddit. I'll post links there if you're interested in any of it. I've sold most of the laptops so far. But there's other things that people might be interested in, because I've used an adapter like this before on an older machine running DOS, and it worked perfectly. So if you have an older like DOS machine or Windows 95, 98, this might work for you perfectly. I'll sell it with the Compaq Flash cards. I have a Chromebook I'll be selling, things like that, just because the less I can move, the better. So, and we'll just go through this. And again, I get this question asked a lot about how to install Windows 10. Windows 10 has what's called a media creation tool. You can find that just by Googling Windows 10 media creation tool, and it'll take you right to it. You download it, you install it, and you work through the installation, and you can either create a bootable CD drive, or excuse me, a bootable DVD, or a USB drive. And if your computer can boot from USB, this one cannot. You cannot boot from USB. It has to be disk on this. But if it can boot from USB, that is a much better option. I will say this, if it's a little bit older of a machine, you want to make sure that you use a USB 2.0 drive, because I find a lot of driver issues with USB 3. So if the computer has a USB 2.0 port, you want to use the 2.0 port and the 2.0 drive. Now if you're using a newer machine, that won't be a problem, but stuff that came out 3, 4, or 5 years ago, it sometimes won't boot with a USB 3, whether it's a USB 3 drive or a USB 3 port. So it's just something to throw out there. Windows 10 seems to be better. That was mainly a problem with Windows 7. Windows 10 seems to have more drivers for it, but just something to keep in mind out there for. Now this process does take a while with the disk. That's why I recommend definitely going with the disk, with USB versus the disk, because it has a lot to read off the disk. Now this is a slower DVD drive than more modern ones, but it's still significantly slower than going through and using a USB. USBs are significantly faster than CD-ROM drives. Alright, so English, install now. We will not put in a product key for right now, simply because I don't want to waste one. Now we're going to be doing a 32-bit version of the software. We're going to go ahead and do a home version, and we'll go ahead and click next, because that's what I have the license for, is Windows 10 Home. 64, 32-bit does not matter. Same license could be used for either. Accept, next, do a custom, and we will delete the partitions that are already there. Unallocated, next. Now this process will take forever. Alright, so I was trying to record this, and it actually ended up taking so long that the battery on my camera died, so I had to plug it in and charge it to finish up this video. We'll go ahead, basically on the screen that we were on, it got through that list and then rebooted, and that's where we are. To this point, we're going to connect to my home network. Oh, this keyboard is so nice to type on. That's one thing with newer computers, with those chiclet keyboards, they are just not as satisfying to type on. I bought my wife a mechanical keyboard for her computer, and to sit and type on that is a dream. If you haven't ever typed on a mechanical keyboard, I highly recommend picking yourself up one. They're not very expensive. You can pick them up for like 30, 40 bucks. I'll put a link to those in the description. The one I bought doesn't have a numpad, which is the one thing I probably would get next time if I were to buy another one, but awesome to type on. And this, while it's not a mechanical keyboard, is an older style that has kind of that feel. We'll skip this step. And I'll just, you guys know my name is Carl. I'm not going to set a password for now. Just trying to get through this. Now this process takes a long time. I've been at this now over an hour. I set it and forgot it. It just takes a long time to read off that disk. It would cut the time down in less than half. Now part of it is also that we're going onto a IDE drive. Even though it is an SSD, that interface is just slow. There's not a whole lot you can do about that. Now one thing with this that I'm hoping is, with all these lower end machines, you've probably seen this in my other videos as well, there's some processes like the anti-malware application that just runs on in the background constantly. It chews up a lot of CPU performance, especially after a reboot or waking up from sleep. And so I'm hoping that we can avoid some of that with the SSD on the system, because with that spinning drive, the mechanical drive I had in here, those processes just never ended. They just ran and ran and ran and ran. And so hopefully with SSD it will be a lot quicker to process through those, actually usable, because just from a cold boot, Windows 10 had this computer running at 100% CPU and just never came off of there. Or with the other systems, they'll run 100% CPU for a while, but eventually you'll get your own system back after those processes complete. So I don't know if you can hear it, but the fan's working pretty hard as it goes through these screens here. We'll probably skip this part as well. This is just your very basic Windows 10 screens as it's installing stuff. Now, with installing Windows XP, I did have to have a disk of drivers, but with installing Windows 10, it installs everything except for the video drivers. And what this really is to show you some of the way to work around that, because the video card and chipset drivers for this computer are not quote-unquote compatible with Windows 10. So we'll go over that here in a few. So if you have an older system and you want to upgrade to Windows 10, you're having a hard time with finding drivers, this may help you, again, overcome some of those obstacles. So we'll go ahead and pause here while this finishes up, and then we will tackle the next thing. Alright, so we have booted into Windows, and we are going to do a couple things here. First thing we're going to do is get rid of most of Cortana, and we'll go into the File Explorer. We'll right click on this PC and Properties, Device Manager. So it installed the wireless card, so we have internet access. So we're missing a mass storage controller and a multimedia audio controller. Now, for the display adapters, it just has Microsoft Basic Display Adapter. Now, to get the correct adapter, what I had to do is so I went offline and did a little bit more research, and I found the website I was actually looking for. It's catalog.update.microsoft.com, and there you can actually search for the item you're trying to find. And once you do that, you can download one of these files, and I'll first have to install 7-zip here real quick. You extract the file. You have to use 7-zip to do that. It's a cab file. And once it's extracted, then you can install the driver you need. So I downloaded a couple of them. Just trying to install 7-zip. I got too excited, I got too impatient and didn't do this before turning the camera back on here. Now, on this list of cab files, it's not very descriptive of which is which. Typically, the 64-bit drivers consume more space, and so they're the bigger files, and the 32-bit are smaller and consume less space. So that's usually how you can tell. These are the two of the files that I downloaded here. Out of the way, 7-zip. And this one is 6.9 and this one's 9.7. So I'm guessing it's this one is the one I need. This is the file that's on. This is all the information you get. It just gets download updates, ATI Technologies Inc. Display, Radeon Express 200M series, and then this log cab file name. I'll go ahead and open up 7-zip. Is it still installing it? Oh, there we go, 7-zip. I'll just go to Computer, C, Users, that would be me, Downloads, and we'll just extract this cab file. While that's extracting, we'll go back into here and we'll right click on this PC, properties, this area. We'll let this do its thing. It's taking a long time to decompress. So we'll pause and come back when it's done. Alright, I apologize. That took a couple minutes to extract there, but now we're going to go ahead and go into here in Device Manager. And we'll see if we got the right one. Display adapters, right click, update driver software, browse, let's go. Download, not that one, this one. Nope, that's not it. Let's go back here and see what our options are. So this one says Windows 7, Windows Vista. This one's Windows XP. Here's another Windows 7, Windows Vista one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to download all of these. I'm going to extract them all. And we'll go through them one by one. Since the extraction took quite a while, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and we'll come back once we get those all extracted. Alright, so here is attempt number 2. Update driver software, browse, myself, and downloads, and this one. See what this does for us. So let's uninstall and scan. Okay, let's try a different one here. So we're doing these Windows 7, Windows Vistas. Let's go ahead and go down to one that says just Windows Vista. And this is 2.8 megabytes, so we'll try this one. Now I know this works because I did do this previously. And I do have let's extract. This should be fairly quick because it's a fairly small one. Close. Oh, I close that one. That's a good sign. There we go. That makes me very happy. Radeon Express 200M series, Microsoft Corporation. So I was trying those ones that were the oh, I closed the window. I was trying the ones that said that they're Windows 10 / Windows Vista, excuse me, Windows 7, Windows Vista, and those ones were not working. So when I went to just a pure Windows Vista one, then that worked, and that I believe is the correct resolution for the screen, 1280 by 768. So that is where we're going to end this probably very long video at this point. This is part 5 of working with a super old computer, and we are going to do more with it after in the next video, in part 6. We're going to see how we can get Windows 10s to work if we can. See, this anti-malware service executable is just a killer. It's using 92% of the processor. So I'll do some research and figure out what we can do to get rid of this anti-malware service executable entirely, just to see what effect it alone is having as far as the performance goes on this system, because it seems to be taking the vast majority of the CPU resources most of the time. Now that we're sitting here for a minute, there's other things popping up, but it keeps bringing its ugly head to the surface. So I'd really like to see how we can get rid of that. And at this point, we're going to call the video good. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great evening, and hope you have enjoyed this series. There'll definitely be a part 6. Don't know if there will be a part 7, but there will be at least one more of these. If you like this, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up. If you dislike it, give me a thumbs down and let me know why. This has been a lot of fun for me, at least playing around with old computers and trying to get them to work. And again, have a great evening.